Orion at Kings Island is a B&M hypercoaster. I mean, Giga coaster, that's what I meant to say, guys. That opened in 2020. And this coaster opened as Kings Island's tallest, fastest, and longest steel coaster. Wow, guys, what a record. But no, guys, this coaster stands at 287 feet with a drop of 300 feet. And in my opinion, a pretty solid Giga coaster, guys. I've only ridden 3, but this is a pretty good one. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing all my thoughts on this roller coaster, doing the full review, going through 10 categories to determine what the final score of this awesome Giga coaster is. Because awesome for this roller coaster is a pretty unpopular opinion. So let's get into the first category, which is height. And like I said before, this coaster stands at 287 feet, which is the height of a hypercoaster. So a lot of enthusiasts, a lot of thuzies make jokes as this being a hypercoaster. But anyone not knowing, a hypercoaster stands between 200 and 300 feet. But it could also have a drop between 200 and 300 feet to be considered a hypercoaster. But if it's a Giga coaster, it's the same thing. 300 to 400 feet is a Giga coaster. But if it has a drop of 300 feet, it's a Giga coaster. So it's like it has to be either the drop or the height to make it a Giga coaster. And for a Giga coaster, this height is pretty pathetic. I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry. Sorry, Kings Island fanboys. But this is a pretty pathetic height. And I don't really focus on the height of this coaster itself. I focus on the actual quality, the elements, the actual drop, the speed, and all of that. So I don't focus on this height. But in this review, in this specific category, we are going to focus on the height. And I am sorry, but I'm going to be giving a 6. Oh, guys, I'm kidding. I'm going to be giving an 8 for height. Alright, so Orion has a pathetic height, but does it have a pathetic speed? No. Orion travels at 91 miles per hour, and that is pretty damn fast, guys. 91 miles per hour. And guys, Orion does not lose its speed at all. Going through the wave turn, the turnaround, the speed hill, the first camelback. Oh my god, guys. It does not lose its speed. You fly into the brake run when you finish. And especially up front, you can really feel that speed. The wind in your face. Oh my gosh, guys. I'm going to be giving a 10 for speed. Now for the drop. Orion has one of my favorite drops ever, if not my favorite drop. Definitely my favorite drop on a B&M. Definitely my favorite drop on a non-RMC. This drop is insane, guys. While I have not ridden Fury 325 yet, I can tell you that this is definitely one of the best drops in the world, guys. I love this drop. Oh my god, guys. It's 85 degrees, 300 feet down. If you were in the back row, not stapled, you were going to come far out of your seat, guys. It is so insane. Like, if you have not ridden Orion, I would recommend riding Orion just for this drop. So a 10 for drop. Next, let's talk about airtime, the thing that every enthusiast wants on a roller coaster. And you can find airtime on Orion not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different airtime points on Orion. The first airtime point, and by the way, you got to be in the back for most of these airtime moments, but if you're in the back row, that's 1 airtime point. You are out of your seat for a solid 3-4 seconds. It's an awesome moment. Then you're going to get a slight pop of floater on the wave turn if you are on the right side of the train. So if you're on the right side of the train, you might get a slight pop of floater on the wave turn. Following that, there'll be a speed hill that, in my opinion, delivers some of the most sustained floater airtime ever, guys. Like, I mean it. It is one of my favorite airtime moments, especially if you're in the back and not stabled. You are out of your seat for 4 seconds. Anyways, following that amazing airtime moment on the speed hill, you go into a trimmed camelback. So a camelback hill with trim brakes. You're still going to get some airtime on it. If you're in the back row going over the airtime hill, you'll get some floater on that. And then there's one last airtime moment, which is the little transition into the final brake run. And then that's it. So 5 airtime moments, but if you're in the front row, you'll get 4 airtime moments, most likely. Or if you're in the front row and on the left side of the train, you'll get 3 airtime moments. So, for airtime, while it's not the most, I am still going to be giving an 8 because there are some very high quality airtime moments, especially that speed hill. Without that speed hill, I'd probably be giving a 6 or a 5, but that speed hill is insane, guys. Now let's talk about the overall layout on Orion. So, the layout begins with, of course, the lift hill, and it's actually a pretty fast lift. I mean, for B&M standpoint, because most B&M lift hills are pretty slow, but Orion gets up to the top pretty fast. And on your way up, the lift hill is very silent. You don't really hear it that much, unlike most B&Ms, so it's very silent lift hill. And if you look to your right, you can see the whole park. If you look to the left, you can just see the forest and like neighborhood and stuff. And then once you crest the top of the lift hill, you're going down that 300-foot, 85-degree drop. Oh my gosh, guys, you're going to get thrown out of your seat on that. Then you go into a wave turn, and that's a pretty cool element. Following that, you go into the turnaround, and literally right after the turnaround, you go into the insane speed hill that gives some of the best floater airtime ever, followed by a camelback that gives some good floater if you're in the back. And then you go up into a helix. And I actually grayed out the last time I rode this. I grayed out on the helix. So it is pretty forceful. Not the most forceful helix ever. And then you go into one final transition that gives some very strong pop of ejector, actually, in my opinion. And then you go into the brake run. And that is a very short ride, especially for a B&M Giga coaster. That is very, very short. And I was actually surprised to find out that it's 5,100 feet long. It doesn't seem like it is, but it is, so that's great, I guess. And this is a pretty bland layout, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they've removed Vortex, and that land has been sitting there for a while now, unoccupied. So if they're not going to put something there, they could have expanded Orion's layout. And I know they own a lot of land behind the forest, so they could have, they really could have expanded it. They really could have made it a longer roller coaster. And while I, most of the time, would be pretty satisfied with what I've got for Orion, I just can't stop thinking to myself that they really could have done a better job with the layout. So I'm going to be giving a 6 for overall layout. Alright, so opening in 2020, Orion is pretty new. 2 years old now. And this roller coaster is really smooth, guys. This is one of the smoothest B&Ms, probably tied with Candemonium, both opening in 2020. And guys, there is not one single rough patch on Orion, at least from what I remember. This is buttery smooth. Oh my gosh, guys, I just can't get enough of it. It makes it even more graceful. The smoother it is, the more graceful it is. And I just can't believe how smooth Orion is. So a 10. Alright, Orion's restraints. Orion has amazing restraints, guys. Restraints that you'll find on many B&M Gigas and Hypers. Actually, all of them. And that's the B&M clamshell lap bar restraint that allows much room, even if you're stapled, to get airtime, guys. And even if you do get stapled, it's not uncomfortable. These are some of the most comfortable restraints that I've ever rode with. Unfortunately, though, it also has seat belts, so that can be a little bit restricting. But I don't really mind the seat belts that much. They're not painful or anything. But it does have seat belts with the lap bar. And I've ridden a couple of B&M hypercoasters. And not any Giga coasters, but some hypercoasters that don't have the seat belts. And these seat belts are not really necessary, guys. But I'm fine with it. The actual restraint, though, the actual train, very comfortable. And if you're not stapled, I mean, you're going to get a lot of airtime. So, a 10, guys. These are some of my favorite restraints. Alright. So, Orion as a coaster is a pretty good coaster. But how are the operations? Well, on my day to Kings Island, Orion's operations were amazing, guys. They were getting those trains out in a minute, 30 seconds. Yeah, a couple of times it was 30 seconds, guys. 45 seconds, a minute, around those times. And that is very, very good, guys. The fact that there's no bins on the other side helps a lot because there's no GPs hogging up the station. I do kind of wish there were bins because then you can't really bring in anything with you in line unless you have a fanny pack. So that kind of sucks. But it is what it is. And that definitely makes the operations a lot faster. I've found that all roller coasters I've ridden that don't have the bins have very fast operations. And those operators were working real fast that day to get those trains out. So, shout out to the Orion ride ops that day. I'm giving a 10 for operations. Alright, guys, one final category, and that is theming. And I'm not going to be focusing on just this ride solely. I'm going to be focusing on the entire area. Guys, this back area in the park is so well themed, guys. I know a lot of people probably disagree with me, but I really like this theming, guys. The theming they have around Flight of Fear on the outside, along with Orion. There's some cool stuff to look at while you're in the Orion line. It just has this whole space exploration type theme in the whole area. Like you're in a space station or something. And I just love it, guys. I love space-themed rides. And Orion, they definitely, for a Cedar Fair park, they did a good job with the theming. While there is no, like, on-ride theming, stuff like that, while there isn't, like, it's not, like, the best theming ever, not outstanding, like, Velocicoaster level or anything, it is pretty good theming, though. It's definitely the best themed ride in the whole park. Unless you include Flight of Fear. That's probably the best themed. Or Backlot Stunt Coaster. But this is definitely up there in theming. So I am going to be giving an 8 for the Orion theming. And for the final score of Orion, I am going to be giving a 9. Which is a very unpopular opinion, unfortunately. This is a very underrated roller coaster. I love Orion. I know a lot of people say it's like forceless or whatever. That's boring. But I really, really like this coaster. While it doesn't have the most interesting layout, while it is pretty short, that speed hill, that drop, the wave turn, that's what makes me love it. So that's going to do it for today's roller coaster review. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below and leave a comment also. What other roller coasters would you like me to review? What amusement park should I review? All sorts of stuff. Just leave your suggestions in the comments. And if you want to see more coaster content beyond reviews, like vlogs, off-ride footage, ranking videos, and so much more, make sure to subscribe to Coaster Brothers and turn on the notifications so you get notified whenever I upload a new video that's coaster related. And as always, guys, stay on the thrill side of life.